In December of 2015, I was released from solitary confinement and sent to High Desert State Prison.
Free at last, free at last.
I remember the first time I went out to the main yard. It was snowing heavily. However, I began to run around the big track. As I began to run, I began to pick up the pace. Soon enough, my shirt was off and I was flying, soaring around the track with all of my might and speed. I was truly flying. I'm Ernesto Rodriguez, and I was incarcerated for 24 years. I've been home now for 6 months.
I'm gonna change it.
All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
My childhood growing up was horrible. My real father, he didn't want anything to do with me. In my home, with my stepfather, and my mom, and my 2 little sisters, it was full of abuse. My stepfather, looking back, he had his own issues, and he projected that into our family. He terrorized us with intimidation. He taught me that a man couldn't feel, couldn't express himself, and the only way that communication was allowed was through violence, anger. I learned that suppressing my emotions and instead terrorizing my community was a way that I can let others know that I was hurting. My parents struggled with addiction. They were constantly in and out of prison. And as a result, I was charged with the responsibility of taking care of my 2 little sisters. I think one of the hardest things that I experienced, which were many, was sexual abuse. And that's something that my sisters and I all went through in the different settings that we stayed at. Needless to say, in those settings, the horrors and the nightmares that were a consequence of some of those traumas, we didn't have a chance. And yet I often think, how did my sister not end up like me and make different choices?
This is my beautiful family. My wife Kathleen, my daughter Eva, my sister Michelle, my niece Mia, and my nephew Isaac.
Looking back now, I think I tried so hard to be tough, to let things roll off my back and just project this bravado, but now I realized that I was weak. And so I admire my sister for that. At the age of 10, I witnessed my aunt get murdered. It was in Tijuana, Mexico. And a man came in to buy a car from my aunt and my uncle. My uncle was away on a business trip. I remember just watching the black and white King Kong movie, and I heard some noise and I turned back and I just saw it. The man beating my aunt, smashing her face in, and my reaction was hiding under a coffee table. I remember after that moment, I promised myself I would never allow another person have power or control over me or victimize me. I wanted others to feel what I was feeling. And so I began to terrorize my community. I was 18 years old. I was arrested. I was shot 3 times by the police, and I was incarcerated. I remember getting a letter from my youngest daughter, Michelle, that told me, "Listen up, mister. You're not my dad. I hate you. I never want to see you. You're probably gonna die before you ever get to see me again. Don't write me, don't call me." And I'm reading this letter in this situation, and it broke me. When I was a kid, I remember that I used to think, I'm never going to become like my stepdad. I had this resentment towards him. And I promised myself that the day that I had kids, that I was going to be better. And I had become worse. And when I went back to my cell, I broke down. I fell on my knees. And I just looked up. And I'm like, God, I don't know if you exist. I don't know if you're up there. I don't know if you can hear me. But I'll make you a deal. If you spare my kids learn about life the way I did, you can have mine. And it was that moment when I got up from the floor that I made a decision. I was gonna become the opposite of what I had become up to that point. And I knew somehow that that wasn't the end of me. I just didn't know how it was gonna happen. I remember when I started my college classes and I got on the tier and I told the guys, hey, I'm gonna become a counselor one day. They laughed at me. They're like, dude, you're losing it up there. Don't you know where we're at? We're never getting out of here. I remember once there was a person who was paroling and didn't even have parole clothes. I remember giving him my own shoes. He asked me, man, I really appreciate that. What can I do for you? I said, man, you don't have to do anything. I said, but wait a minute. If you can do one thing for me, I said, be kind to somebody else when you get out. Just pay it forward. It don't matter who it is. And that's when I got the idea, can we do something or create something, or could we develop a systematic approach to be kind or to pay it forward? That's how the program that we have now with Kindful Restoration emerged.
And we send them support letters if they're going to board within a year of completion. They get a support letter with their completion, and along with resources, anything that supports them taking the next step in their journey to learn more. And it doesn't mean it's just us. We reach out to a bunch of other resources to do that, to help them.
Having gone through that process, oftentimes we come out here and we're the solution. We're able to understand and meet people in their dysfunction, in their hurt, in their pain. And I get it, but you don't have to stay there. There's a better place in life. And I'm not talking about a location. I'm talking about in your heart. I remember submitting that essay to the prison hunger strikers, to a Sharon Martinez. The response that I got was that she asked me for permission to share the essay with someone, with a friend. And again, I was like, what's the big deal? But okay. And it ended up being Doug Carnine's daughter, Leah Carnine, and she wrote me. And that was the first time I got introduced to the concept of kindness. Doug invested in one person and then multiplied his ability to use kindness to reach others. He changed my life. But he'll always say that I did the work and I had a life worth saving for myself, but I had to do it myself. He was just there to support the process.
I'm going to read what was in the first letter that you wrote. One has to...
Sorry, Doug, you still have that first letter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
This
sorry.
It's okay. One has to strive to transcend the chaos and confusion that suffocates our lives, our existence, and learn to help others to be free of this internal prison we're held captive in. You know, having 5 years of experience with all these guys, all of them convicted of violent crimes, most of them in for life, that sentence made me realize already we're on the path to mindful kindness. And then I found about how you help others. So in these letters, you describe how you go into a new facility, new prison, You'd watch people, you'd see how they behave, how they treat other people, and you'd identify the potential leaders, and you'd partner with them, and you'd develop their skills. And then when you left that prison, they stayed behind to keep going what you started. Phenomenal way of doing more than healing yourself, but in a sense, you were healing yourself by healing others.
I learned how to love myself, and as a result, I learned how to love others. And I say that because I am a victim of kindness, and without the kindness of others, I know I wouldn't be where I am today. I would never have learned to love myself. I learned that I could be that kind person to somebody else, but I learned at the same time that kindness will not exist if it's not backed behind love. I want to let people know that change is possible, and that even though that, like I shared earlier about Ernesto, that kindness where he came to start this program, he was in the pit of darkness. So kindness does exist in darkness. It's just that we just have to allow ourselves to open it up, allow ourselves to feel. And that only comes by asking for help and knowing that you have a problem. And my goal is to help these guys know that even though that problem exists in their lives, that problem doesn't have to define who they are today or tomorrow. There is changes possible. And I want to be that face that they see that, damn, if he could do it, then I could do it. Well, my goal is to help people find those things. Help them understand that they are not animals, that we are human beings, and that even though those things did exist in our lives, they don't have to define us.
CROP is an acronym which stands for Creating Restorative Opportunities and Programs. What inspired me and founders to start CROP was wanting to make transformation happen on a macro level in the reentry space by providing career development. And so what the best choice for us was to start a holistic program with wraparound services, with everything from housing, digital literacy, financial literacy, career development, career upskilling, also in tech so that they can make a family livable wage.
So it was a lot of work. And I had the vision and, the expectation, okay, I'm going to come home, everything's ready to go, I'm going to hit the ground running, and we're going to start getting some grants and all this stuff. And I sat down on a computer, and I just sat down on a computer. I turned that sucker on, and I'm like, okay, Kathleen, how do you do this? Well, you got to download it. What's a download? Kathleen, how do I do this? Well, you got to go to the drive. Well, I don't even got a license yet. How am I going to drive it? So as we started to go through the CROP program, the Ready for Life, first pillar, I started to learn simple things.
Before we get into the opening lecture of this Ready for Life, I want to just allow you, each and every one of you, to introduce yourself.
And believe it or not, I did y'all course and it got me out of prison.
Hey.
Wow. I did the mindfulness, and I was watching her because her name, your face was on her page. I'm like, I know what we're doing, but when you said what you said, I'm like, okay. But it's because of those things that I gained some insight, and that's what this is about for me.
Frank, so you guys want a tour of the place?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, we'll show you real quick. I'll take you to this unit over here. The laundry room, these guys do their laundry here. Once a week, everybody, well, twice a week actually, they do their laundry here. And then this is one of the units that they stay at. We have a single room right here for them. And then we have a four bedroom, 4 bunks bedroom. And they got their bathroom over here. They got their own kitchen. I usually cook 5 times a week. Dinners, 4 times breakfast for them, try to get them fed as well. A lot of them buy their own food as well and cook on their own. What I do is I get referrals from Amity to whether I want to accept certain guys or not. I could reject or accept guys, and then set them up with a bed, stuff like that, their own, blankets and sheets and everything, all that good stuff for them. Once I get a chance, whether it's the following day or that day, depending on what time they get here, I usually take them to DPSS or and DMV, to get them started, get their EBT, and then get their IDs and stuff like that, get them going out here. I actually know about Ernesto through his wife. When he was incarcerated, his wife communicated with me about bringing him into this program.
He and I was on the same board. He's opened up the program, Mindful Kindness. I was in this group, and that a lot of fellas that come out the group came back out to society with that positive attitude and give thanks to Ernesto, because it's something he and his wife started, and it was a beautiful thing. And this is continuous with him. So just to give hats off to him,
Yeah, the self-help they provide is very crucial in prison, because that's what plants the seed in your mind is the change.
I would say that part of the reason that I'm having as much success today is because of people like Frank. Us having those dialogues while I was still incarcerated, and him listening and basically customizing his approach to my needs. Whether it happens this way or not, or it's a coincidence, or it's a higher power or God, a lot of times people that have gone through our program end up in this house, and it's just neat to come and just have those dialogues like, oh, you're Kathleen, or oh, you're Ernesto, and it's a small world. But when you do it with love, I feel like that's how we interconnect, and we get to the next stage of our life, to be productive, to be healers, to give back, to be of service, and like he said, cause no harm. It all works together. It takes a village, right? So this is the village. I'm appreciative, Frank, for the support and just helping me transition out here. Like, even though I finished the program, he's still a phone call away, and I can ask him, hey, Frank, I'm going through this, or I'm going through that, and he's available 24/7 still. So it's like continuum of care, even after, I've left the program, completed it. So, I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm here today in this community because of love. We all have an inner light that we must nurture in order to illuminate the world, our world, with a bright light of positivity and love. There's no preparation, no class, no conversation that can really put to light exactly all the challenges that we're going to go through. When we talk about unkindness versus kindness, how does that look like out here?
I was a victim myself, and what I find is like forgiving and letting go of these hurts. It's not only kind to the other person, but kind to myself. It's healing for me. Instead of holding on to the anger, that bitterness, that hurt, it's just let it go. And these people have been hurt too. They've been victimized. And I believe everybody does deserve a second chance. I'm grateful for my second chance.
In prison, murderers, we don't associate with them other guys. We look down upon them. But we're all lumped up in society as the same people. So if somebody doesn't help the 290 guys, like someone's helping me, I have to help that 290 guy. I have to be there for him because someone volunteered to help me. The Bible teaches you to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And that's where the mindful kindness comes into play is how can I be kind to somebody else if I'm not kind to myself?
My wife has the biggest heart that I've ever encountered in my life. This woman just has a world of love that just makes our programs, I believe, unique in that aspect. Mindful kindness, Kindful Restoration, and the love that she puts in the work that we do has been my teacher too. Tell me, or tell us, where does that deep love, like that source of love that you have, and it shows up through kindness because that's a physical, but where does it come from?
I'm just like everybody else. I've got trauma in my life, in particular, my sibling, my brother. I had a traumatic childhood with him, and he abused me as a child, humiliated me in every way. But he was my hero. So no matter what he did, I held him to this height, right? But I never was, even though I held him high in my head, I never showed him kindness, and he certainly didn't to me. And as we grew older, you know, we're 8 years apart. As we grew older, that gap just became wider and wider, the unkindness to each other. So in doing this work, I don't think I know. I developed these relationships with you all, with Ron, with Mark, because I'm chasing my brother. I see you guys as my broken brother, who's today, you know, he's bipolar, schizophrenic, and I can't have that relationship with him that I want so bad. And I have it with you guys. So that's where it comes from.
And that's how love shows up. And Doug has the saying, that's how love wins.
A granddaughter from the community that you met yesterday gave me a new nickname. My old nickname, I went by Sneaky. It's rare I kind of share that out, but my new nickname is the Heart Man. Because I feel our corazón is our essence, is who we really are. I believe it's our ancestor Maya Angelou who said, we do the best that we can till we know better. And when we know better, we do better. And I feel that goes back to our heart. When we're our highest self, we're connected to our heart. I appreciate you all. Gracias.
Personally, it had to be a process. Specifically my daughter, we didn't speak for almost 4 years. And getting to know her all over again was a process too that was very emotional.
I didn't want to take the step and just be disappointed and sad again. It was really hard to take the first step, but once you do, it's like you're just jumping off the cliff and you're just going.
The way that I stay committed to kindness is my source, my kid. There's nothing I can say that can say I'm sorry to you. The best way I know how to apologize is with my work. Words don't mean nothing to me. They're powerful, they can make or break, but I just need to show you that I'm sorry. Your sister, Michelle, she's not doing too great. And there's always a part of me that feels responsible for her situation now. I can't save her, but I can help the broken on the inside and the people who are struggling out here. And so for me, that's how my commitment to kindness shows up. I'll never hurt you again, and I'll display it through this work. I love you.
I want to share that when I met Ernesto, I saw it. I get emotional because I saw this guy had it. He had a vision. There's an old quote that says, my people perish for lack of vision. And he had a vision. He found it. Found it in the SHU, in the security housing unit in prison. And Doug believed in him. And most of us here and there have found it very difficult to make it in prison without someone who believed in us. But when they did, it sparked joy in us to be able to do something different with ourselves.
You know, doing this work, some of us cry, some of us don't, but there's something that is a fact. We feel it in our bodies. It's something that comes out like a reflex. Sometimes they don't come out in words, but you feel it in here to the core of your heart. A lot of us, we've been home for 6 years, 11 days. Appreciate the blessing, reconnecting with family, doing great work, changing beliefs. We all have a lived experience that can change unkindness to kindness.
And what better message than kindness and mindfulness? What we didn't know is we can find it in ourselves. We can find it at home. We can find it in our backyards. We can find it anywhere.
Sincerely and with much love and solidarity, Ernesto Rodriguez.